Oh, there's a bite. Yeah, got another one.
Hi, it's a constant angler. In this video, I'm going to go back to basics with you. A lot of people have been asking questions about what's the best rig, how do you do this, how do you do that. So I decided it was time to return to the basics and start off again and show you rigs more, because that seems to be a question a lot of people are asking. So if we talk about the basic setup first, that's a spinning rod. You can have one rated up to 35 grams if you want. This one is 28 grams. You can go a little bit lower if the fish are after a little bit smaller. But if you're after decent size Ballan Wrasse, you need a bit of kit that's going to do the job. So I suggest 28 grams up. It's got a 4,000 size reel on it with 20 pounds braid. 3,000 size reel will do. And attached to that is a fluorocarbon leader. You can use mono if you want, of 15 to 20 pounds. So now we get to the important bit, the rig. So this is a Texas rig. You have a little look at it here. So essentially it's a weight sliding on a line and a weedless hook. So if we start off at the top, there's a float stop or bobber stopper, which we can move up and down the line. It's followed by a Texas weight, which slides up and down the lane, and it's just basically a coned lead or titanium or brass weight, followed by a bead of some description. You can plastic, glass. This is a jewelry bead. It's got a bit of rattle in it. And then the important bit on the end is the hook, and that's an extra wide gape hook or EWG hook in size 1. You can go down in size or up in size depending on the size of the lures that you're using. This enables us to rig our soft plastic lure weedlessly so that we don't snag all the time. That's the main advantage of the Texas rig. There are other things, and I'll describe that in the video to you. If you're wondering what the bobber stopper is all about, or float stop as we call it in this country, you can slide that down and trap it all together. That has its advantages, but it has its disadvantages. Watch the rest of the video and I'll explain them to you. If you want to look at the Texas rig in real depth, I've done a separate video all about it. But essentially it lets us, because of the profile of it, pull this through all but the very roughest of rock and weed and rack. You'll be amazed where you can throw this and you won't snag up. If you've follow the rest of the video, you'll see some other little tips I'll give you to help you with that as well. So stay tuned. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell even. And you'll see me catch a couple of wrasse on this rig. Right, so this is my lure box. Have a look what we got in here. I'm going to start off with today with a sort of bronzy coloured 3-inch shad. This is from Rooney's Fishing Supplies. Let's see if they like that. Got some other colours as well and lots of other lures, but I'll show you how to rig this shad to start off with, and then we'll talk about how we impart action. Now the Texas rig, a lot of people miss a trick with the Texas rig, because if you see, for a wrasse fishing generally, this weight is sliding on the line. Now wrasse usually stun a bait first and then they'll return to engulf it. Now it's a bit like perch fishing. Perch don't like sensitivity, and I believe the same is true with wrasse. So when they stun that bait or grab it, they can pull some line through, so you've got less resistance. Other rigs we use do not do that, and there may be an advantage, it may be a disadvantage depending on the day that you're fishing. But yeah, that is one of the biggest pluses for me of the Texas rig. Now the biggest downfall of the Texas rig is if you're fishing into deep water where there's a lot of weed and rack, and you need to, very tall rack and weed, you need to get the bait down to the bottom near to your lead, because this can happen. They can separate, and that can separate by several feet meters, and you're left with your bait somewhere hung up in the weed, and your weight, well, maybe somewhere else, or hung across some weed. So we don't always want that. So you can put a bobber stopper up above here and peg it if you want, but my suggestion to you is that if you're going to do that, I don't peg it dead tight. I peg it a little bit shorter like that, so that they've still got a little bit of something they can get less resistance from before they hit that stopper. So you're still getting your sensitivity with it, but you are in effect, you know, that's as far as they're going to be apart by the time the weight hits the bottom. The weights, how do you pick what size weight? Well, I generally use from 7 grams to about 14 grams. Now, choosing your weight, you need enough weight to get to the distance you need to cast and to take your bait to the bottom. We're not fishing up in the water for wrasse, we're fishing down around the bottom, hopping it around the bottom, buzzing it around the bottom. So that's how you select your weight. If there's a strong current, you're going to need a heavier weight, cross current, just to get it down to the bottom. And if you want to cast a long way, a heavier weight again, you're going to go 14 grams. Some you can go even more. I generally use somewhere between 7 and 14 grams. This is about 10, I think. So there's things to consider when you're choosing your weight. Your beads we talked about. Your hooks, well, they need to match the size of the lure you're using. 1/0 is a good standard hook for 3 and 4 inch baits. You want a strong hook as well. But this is more about the rig today than the hooks. So yeah, that's what the Texas rig enables us to do. If we peg it, we lose that sensitivity, but it will still work, maybe not as effectively. If I was to fish the same scenario in deep weed and rock and structure and need to keep the weight together, I'd fish a Jika rig. Anyway, let's show you how to rig the lure. So you take your lure and make sure you got it the right way round. Okay, so in this case, this is the belly, that's the back. And what I want to do is, if you see that hook there, that part of the hook, there's sort of a right angle there, that's the bait keeper section. I want to go in through the middle of the bait, roughly that distance. So what I'll do is go in roughly that distance, and then I'll pull the hook out through the belly of the lure. And I thread the bait up to that point. So we've got to here at the moment. I'm going to turn it around, so what works for me, and I'm going to twiddle the bait around so that the belly is now with the belly of the hook. So you see what I've done there? And this is holding the bait in place. The next thing I do is put that hook alongside the bait, and I mark where this part of the hook wants to go through with my thumb. Just carefully turn it over. I'll move my hands, but practiced this for a while now, and then I put it straight down through round about there. And if you see now, you see that hook point there, it's all sat how it's sat. I do this generally in most of my videos, so you can reference them as well. It's fairly readless, but it does catch on occasion. So all we do is, this is what we call texposing the lure. So what we do now is we pull the plastic towards the eye of the hook, and then we just place the plastic slightly over the eye of the hook. So there you go. One thing I'm also going to do is, if bait's quite tough like this, which is a good thing for wrasse as long as they have action, is I do a little bit of this just to remove a bit of the plastic, so that the hook, when a fish bites, will expose that little bit easier. With the lubrication of the water, it really will. So all I've done was texpose again, just did that and placed it back over the hook point. And there is your baited Texas rig. Now why am I using a shad? Well, it's warmed up now, and I think more people will, and I think the fish are more likely to chase the lure a bit, and I can impart enough action with this to get this tail working, flapping around. So talking about tails and appendages, you need a heavy enough weight on the sink for that to make that tail work, or whatever it is your chosen lure has on it. So you need enough weight there. If you've got too light a weight, it won't do that on the drop. So that's the plan anyway. So let's fish it now and see what happens.
I'm Josh and I like the constant angler.
Excellent. And Dad?
I'm Graham. This is my son Josh.
And the pair of them, bless, watch my channel, which is for me what it's all about. So
all the time.
Good luck, Josh. You keep watching. I'll try and do lots of things. Is there any sort of fishing you particularly like?
Mackerel fishing.
Mackerel fishing. Well, I want to do a series on mackerel, and just there's 3 different ways I catch them. I catch them on spinners, little spinners. You know what a spinner is? Yeah, and I catch them on the float, and then I catch them feathering. And I'm hoping my son will help me, because he's 23. I'm hoping he'll help me do a little cooking thing for each one to show you how to cook your fish when you catch it.
That'd be a good one.
So we'll get around to that at some point. But lovely to meet you. Come on, you wrasse. Haven't been wrasse fishing for a long time. Had trouble with my knee, and I didn't think I should risk it. And to be honest, I've been obsessed with mullet. Yeah, it's much better. Alright, yeah. We're out on a line with those rocks now. So I'm letting it sink to the bottom, find a good footing, and just bounce it. And hope for that bang on the rod tip, which will be a stun of a wrasse. And then I'm going to wait, unless the rod tip keeps going over, I'm going to wait until it comes back, hits it again, and pulls the rod tip over. And that's when I'm going to... Oh, there's a bite then. Just had a stun then. Yeah, it's coming back. Nope, missed it, but a definite bite. I think it was a small fish, because several little taps. Let's see if we go for again. I didn't bump it, so there you go. We hit the distance, we're hitting the fish. It's all about locating them. Yeah, there's one there again now. No, a little one. That's why I didn't go back to him. Sure he hasn't taken the tail off. They can nip tails if they're small. No, still got a tail. But you can see this lure, he was lucky not to get hooked. You see how that hook has completely come out of the bait? That's very unusual, so it's aggressive fish. So we just hook it back in. These baits from Rooney's are great little tough baits, but with all shads they will get the tails bitten off. Alright, try on that line again. Much better. Doing it easily now. Right, that's good. Let's get a fish then. Another lure's catch fish. I've had a wrasse on before, but I just haven't been out. Come on, I'm just going to get my timing right with a strike. So I wasn't waiting for the rod tip to pull over there, which I should have done, to be honest. I got a little bit excited. Oh, there's a bite again now. You see that changing? Yeah, go on, hit it. Thumping it, stunning it, but they're not taking it. Just tighten up a little bit. Must be a little fish. Come on. Very cagey. You get days like this, we might change a bait in a minute. If we keep just getting little stuns. I don't want a small fish though, because they tend to bite the tails off. Any shad you use, you will get that problem or crawl baits, they will actually bite the appendages off. But you get several in a packet, don't you? So we got what we call a Senko now, which is basically a rubber stick tapered to a point at one end and flat at the other generally, with ribs on it in this case. This is also from Rooney's. Had bites on this one before, so I'm going to rig it exactly the same. You can decide which side you want the belly. If there's a hook slot in the top, then put it, that'll be the back. You'll end up with a hook point sat in that, but in this case there isn't. It's lovely soft bait, wriggles around, it'll look like a worm. So I'm going to do exactly the same. In it goes, about the length of that section there, out to the bottom. It's not critical, but needs to be at least that length. Lay the bait alongside, mark it with your finger or your thumb, push it right through, straight down through the middle of the bait. Now, I've got that wrong. I put it too far back, so I did it on purpose, of course. Take it back out and just redo it. Right, sorry for the loss of sound. I appear to have lost it here. So what I'm doing now is re-rigging the worm so that it's straighter. I've just brought the hook a little bit further back towards the eye of the hook and popped it back through again, so the lure is sitting a little bit closer and much straighter. Now I'm just making that hole bigger so that when the fish munches on the bait, it will depress the lure easier, exposing the hook point and giving us more chance of hooking that fish. And then I've just exposed it, like I showed you earlier, just put a bit of plastic over the hook point. It's a lovely lure. It's I think they call it a chameleon colour. It's a dull sort of brown, bronzy brown, and it actually colour shifts, which I think is what's really setting those wrasse off. We've got a bearded lure's weight there. I'll put links in the description, and that's tapping around. It's a lead weight in this instance against the jewellery breed that has a rattle in it. So we're going to chuck this out now, and you will actually see me catch a fish on this cast. Nice size wrasse and really test the tackle. Let's chuck it out and see what happens. So I'm able to hit the distance I need now because I put a heavier weight on. Change from that brass weight to the lead weight. And we're just rattling the lure in this case. We're trying to keep it more in situ so they get to have a better look at it, and hopefully they'll be more aggressive towards it. I was moving that shad a little too fast, I think. Shouldn't be long now. Let's watch her up to it. There we go. Really putting this fish at range. A decent sized wrasse really tests your tackle. This is why you need beefy tackle. And, you can see it's really putting it to the test there. It's a very good fight from a fish. It's a decent sized one. Now he's running for the rocks in close. Good scrap going on. He is nearly in. Chunky fish. I'd say he's around 2.5 pounds, something like that. I'm not a massive fish, but you can see how hard they can pull. Got a bit of weight to him. We'll have a look now. Just swing it back in towards me. We'll try and find a rock pool to unhook him safely. There he is. You can see the Senko in his mouth there. Let's go find that rock pool. He's a beauty, it just dunked me real. Didn't want to do that. I want to put it down without. They're much bigger. I've had them up to 5 and nearly 6 pounds from here. Let's just try and rig this. So we've got weedless crush barbed hooks. Yeah, he's not particularly big. A couple of pounds. There you go, beautiful colours. Stunning solid fish. If we do all of this over the rock pool, they can kick off. He's just going to fall in the water, isn't he? See their big mouths? You can see their teeth. And didn't he pull, eh? Good bite. Nice fish. On? Not very, no. I think the French are the only people that eat them. Caught on the Texas rig. I don't know. He's a good 2.5 pound, I think. He's chunky and fat. But they're one of the hardest fighting fish in the sea for their size, because they got a big paddle tail on them. And they're so strong and muscular. And they dive straight for the rocks. So you've got to not give them any quarter. Let's just let him have a little rest. He won't take long. Look, he's diving for the bottom of the net already. And there he goes. Down he'll go. He'll soak for a little bit and then he'll swim out further. Right, so I'm one happy chappy. I made a move. I stuck with the Texas rig. I just stuck a Rooney Senko on and bang, got it. It's a spot I knew they were. I lost some fish here the other day and haven't been since. So I just come back and fishing the Texas rig. Well, there it is. With the Senko, you saw me do it. Easy, innit? You get that initial bang and then either wait for you to see your line tightening up or the rod to start going over, then you strike and you whine like hell, as you seen I did. I thought that fish was twice the size of that. It was only 2.5 pounds, but they fight like anything. So let's try and get another. Right, rattle, rattle, rattle. So that's the difference to what I was doing with the shad. I'm rattling it. I give them more time to look at it, didn't I? That probably was that fish or another one similar size that was going for the shad, but I was working that a lot faster, so they weren't having time to look at it. They're obviously in a bit of a fickle mood today. Was that first chuck with that bait? I don't know. Certainly first bite with it, I think. Come on, Wrasse. Let's have another one. So yeah, Texas rig. Take it anywhere. Fish it pretty much anywhere. If you peg it a little bit away from the weight. So you still got a bit of resistance, but that weight will then follow it down to the bottom through the thicker stuff. If you don't peg it, your weight's going to could end up 6-12 foot away from your lure, and neither reaching the bottom. So you need to keep it tight to get it down in the bottom. If you're still not hitting bottom like that, then push it right up against the weight. Well, hopefully that's not the only one that was there. Out we go. That's on the money. That did the distance. So I'm just pulling my rod to the right there, just to allow the braid to sink straighter and I'll not get a big bow. A bit like when you float fishing, I can't help but do it. It's in me now, too many years of fishing. So we normally keep the rod at 45 degrees like that if you can. If it's too windy and there's too much of a bow in your line, you'll have to drop it down and work it like that. But if you start off with it there at 45 degrees, you see I'm just rattling and hopping. Then when you hit into a fish, you're already halfway up. And as you've seen, that fish just went, didn't it? And a 2.5 pound fish at range, you've seen how much that pulled. They absolutely hammer it. Come on, we haven't had another bite. That's a bit disconcerting. Maybe that was just the one fish, or maybe that has spooked the rest of them. I would have thought there's more than one fish out there. We'll cast around a bit when the sup boarders are gone. We'll use the water up. Oh, there's a bite. Yeah, got on one. He pretty much shook himself, this one. He don't feel bad either. Don't feel as big as the last one, but you can't tell until you get on. And he's going for the rock here. Let's get him up and over it. This is, yeah, he's a nice one. Pretty much the same sort of size. A little bit smaller maybe. Similar fish. But there we go. Watch him go in the net. Oh. Cheers. So let's go find that pool again. Actually, we'll do it here on this one. Let's let some line out off the reel. The bottom reel. here where I can see it. Right, let's have a look. Get yourself comfy. Yeah, he's a little bit smaller, this one. He's feisty. It was a short, hard fight. So, we got my other rock pool. Let's get the rig out of the way. There's your rig. Oh, oh dear.
Dad.
He is lively, this one. He's a little bit smaller than the last one, but he looks very similar, doesn't he? Similar colours. So obviously the colour scheme here. Let's get them all out the way. Oh, let's put him in the calmer one. Yeah, it's insane really, but there he goes. That went quite well, didn't it? I might carry on yet, but I might not. I'm getting a bit hungry, and there's a lot of tourists around, so can't fish where I want at the moment. They're swimming, but there you go. But yeah, there's the Texas rig. So in essence, it's just a running weight on a fluorocarbon leather, a bead, EWG hook. That's an extra wide gap hook, which is a weedless hook. And then to that, you're adding a rubber lure of 3 to 5 inches of your choice and your colour. If you're going to start off, I'd start off with blue, so blue black, Junebug colour. I get myself some pink ones if you can find them. Get them from Rudy's Fishing Supplies, he'll make you some. Then you want browns and greens, watermelon colours, that kind of thing. Sort of natural colours. Maybe a grey back, dark grey back with a silver or white belly. Senkos, something like that. So that's what we call a laminate, which is 2 colours. But yeah, get yourself your perch gear. If you get down on holiday, that'll do it. Or get yourself a rod rated somewhere between, I suggest for Ballan Wrasse, which is HRF, hard rock fishing they call it. Bit naff in it, but it was designed by Daiwa, came up with the name. And yeah, get yourself a rod between sort of 21 grams and 35 grams. It's upper rating. Get yourself some Texas weights. You'll find them online or on eBay and that. I'll try and find some links for you between sort of 7 grams and 14 grams or so. Some beads and some hooks. Very basic. It's 1 knot. You can change your hook size to your bait. You can change your bait just like that. You can put a heavier weight on lighter weight. The whole idea with this though is, and this is what a lot of people miss with the Texas rig, is sensitivity. The fish can pull line through that weight. It's a running weight. You can peg it as they do in America for the bass when they're punching it through weed very close in. That's fine, but you'll probably not hook as many. I try not to do that, but there are occasions when you have to. I will show you other rigs. We will do the Jika rig, the free rig, drop shot rig, split shot rig, Carolina rig, those sorts of things, as and when it's appropriate. But I'm going to make this part 2, and part 1 will be my basic HRF wrasse gear. So if you look back at that, that'll run you through all the gear that I use and what I do. And then you can look at this. This will show you the Texas rig being used and catching wrasse. It's very simple. It's grab and go. It's great if you've got kids and you just want to snatch an hour or two. That's how I started. So hope that helps. The Constant Angler. Please like and subscribe.